Hi, this is Billie Beene here with a Flash World Update, episode 80. Today's date, November 2, 2023. Some of the things we'll be covering. House Bill 559, Hamas tunnels, planes up over the U.S., and Russia. What are they doing? Some of my sources are God in the Bible, Patriot subscriber, Mike from around the world, Hal Turner, War News 24/7, New York Prepper, and Canadian Prepper. So this morning, 11/2/2023, about 4 a.m. in the morning, we had more planes up over the U.S. than we've ever had before. I submit to you, this was a practice. And now we'll cover what's many are saying the U.S. Congress has declared a war. No, this is House Bill 559. This was only a House bill putting out the position of the House of Representatives versus Iran, saying that if Iran acquires nuclear weapons, we won't tolerate that. We'll use all means available. A House bill does not constitute a declaration of war. That requires the House and the Senate and goes to the President for signature. This is simply a positioning rhetoric for the House of Representatives. Now, anyone with a little bit of intel knows that Iran has had nuclear weapons for decades. Plus, they have off-world technology they've back-engineered. That's according to Mike from around the world, who's regularly on Pastor Paul Begley's Thursday night program. We believe Mike works for the NSA, but so does the U.S. and China and Russia. So that's going on. It is not a declaration of war. So now we'll cover what's going on in the Middle East and Israel. Israel and the U.S. military continue a genocide against women and children. That's the goal of the deep state. But we have to ask, what the hell is the U.S. military being involved with this genocide being perpetrated by Israel upon the Palestinian people? And I use the word hell because this is an evil act coming from hell. But we know the deep state, who's really in charge of Israel, and the shadow U.S. government and the shadow U.S. military, is intent on destroying the Hebrew genetic bloodline that's in Israel, in Gaza, in Lebanon, in Syria, and in New York City. And I submit to you, it's only a matter of time before some type of bomb is dropped on New York City by the deep state to take out that genetic bloodline. So this is going on. And actually, we have information that the Israeli military and the U.S. military actually took some steps against military targets inside Gaza. So we'll get to it. And we know that Yemen has continued to use Iran Quds 4 missiles against Israel to launch them. And that last night, the IDF, using F-35 planes and their Arrow air defense system, was able to take down some of the missiles that were being fired from Yemen. And let's not forget, right off this coast, Oman, we have 6 Chinese warships. So that's going on. And now we have this. We have the Israel, the shadow government of Israel, that's Benjamin Netanyahu, and the shadow U.S. military that's currently, we know CENTCOM is currently in underground bunkers in Tel Aviv, are negotiating with the military leaders of Hamas to let them go in exchange for hostages. So that's going on. Now we also have this, that by Friday, so let me make a note here so you can see this, that by Friday, this will happen Friday, by dawn, if Israel has not withdrawn from Gaza, then Lebanon, the Hezbollah, will declare war on Israel versus Israel. This is to take place Friday at 3 p.m., which Hal Turner brought out very astutely that would affect in the U.S. the stock market about 9 a.m. It would also affect the stock market in London and Germany, which would be about 2 p.m. in these areas. And Hal Turner puts forth that at 3 p.m. on Friday, when Hezbollah makes a formal declaration of war, if Israel has not stopped their aggression in Gaza, and we have no reason to believe they're going to stop, that they would simultaneously launch a war into this area. We understand they have something like 250,000 missiles. So that's going on. We're now up to 30 to 40 attacks on U.S. military bases inside Syria and inside Iraq. We have the Iraq resistance that we understand is about 200,000 strong, declaring, telling the U.S. military to get out of Iraq, or they're going to simultaneously attack all their bases. We also have in Jordan, we have something like maybe 20,000 U.S. military. And in Egypt, we have something like 10,000. So that's going on. Now in Iraq, at the bases, maybe 5,000, but they're being against 200,000. So we see that shaping up. Now, Israel has lost a lot of support around the world for their genocide that they're actively pursuing. And so what they're saying is, oh, well, maybe we'll show the video of the Hamas attacks. So Israel, to gain support from peoples around the world, is putting forth, they will show the video of the October 7 Hamas attack. Well, let me point this out. I know a lot of you appear to be completely asunder from reality. But if you show a video of the attack, that means that you had cameras set up. So it would lead logically to the next question, who gave the stand-down order? Now we have another source saying that 6 months before the Hamas attack, that 80% of the Israeli military had been withdrawn and sent across Israel to the West Bank area, and also the Israeli citizens along this border with Gaza had been disarmed. I mean, it was all a setup. And we know from Senator Paul, a Republican of Texas, stood up and made a public statement in the U.S. House of Representatives in 2009 that it was the U.S. and Israel, the shadow parts, who had begun and funded and trained Hamas. This was a setup by both the Israeli government and the U.S. government. Shadow parts for sure, but nevertheless, Now you want to show a video? This is like we recall cameras being set up when the Fukushima, that 9-point plus earthquake took place off the coast of Japan. And the cameras were already set up, and we saw it from the beginning. And it's just like cameras being set up when the Russian pipeline N1, N2 was exploded during 2022. And we had it from multiple sources that the shadow U.S. government was in a skiff watching the explosion of the Russian pipeline. No, baby, Netanyahu, let me clue you in. If you have video of the attack, that means you had cameras going. And it would lead logically. Oh, who was watching it? Who gave the stand down order? And now Israel and the shadow U.S. military is actively engaged in the sinful act of genocide upon Palestinian women and children, doing very little in terms of military objectives. So now we have this from Canadian Prepper, that the Hamas tunnels go down 65 yards, which is 195 feet or 60 meters, and in terms of stories of a building, about 13 stories. Now, we recall in Russia and Ukraine that Russia successfully took out an underground bunker where NATO leaders were meeting that went down 250 feet. So maybe the U.S. military might want to ask Russia, what kind of bomb did you use for that? So we can take out Hamas. But let's recall, it's the shadow U.S. military, the shadow U.S. government, the shadow Israeli government, the shadow Israeli military who is supporting Hamas. Why? Because the deep state has several objectives. They want that oceanfront property. They want the genetic Hebrew line wiped out. And they want war because they make money from war. So that's going on. Yeah. And now we have this. What's going on in Ukraine is that now that, and all the money is not coming forth. And the money for Israel's not coming forth. Why? Because the U.S. House of Representatives said they would support $14.3 billion for Israel and send it to the Senate. But the Senate said it's dead on arrival. We need money for Ukraine because that's our laundering area, and we need that money back in our campaign slush funds. So it's going on. So in Ukraine, Russia has taken an area called Adivka, which is a coke plant, and they have already put up their flag. They took out 2,400 Ukraine in the last 24 hours, and they are now inside the coke plant at this location. So we've got Ukraine somewhere around this area engaging in hand-to-hand combat. So that's going on. This concludes my flash update. We need to be in prayer for Israel, for Palestine, for America, and all nations around the earth, where people simply want to be able to raise their children in peace and prosperity. I love you, and I'll see you soon.